The former president handpicked 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. They did as he intended, and in state after state, laws have been passed criminalizing health care providers. I don't know if anyone here has heard most recently the stories out of Georgia. Tragic story about a young woman who died because it appears the people who should have given her health care were afraid they'd be criminalized after the Dobbs decision came down.
Hi there, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in New York. Vice President Kamala Harris earlier today speaking to the National Association of Black Journalists on the threat that Donald Trump represents to all women in America if he were to return to the White House. The vice president there was referencing brand new reporting in ProPublica that found that the abortion bans he put into motion aren't just causing women to needlessly suffer while waiting for treatment or inflicting long-term irreversible damage to their health, rendering them infertile or impacting their ability to have children in the future. We now have irrefutable proof that the bans are killing women. ProPublica found that at least 2 women in Georgia have died after being unable to access timely abortion care after Roe was overturned. Here is one woman's story. Quote, in her final hours, Amber Nicole Thurman suffered from a grave infection that her suburban Atlanta hospital was well equipped to treat. But just that summer, her state had made performing the procedure she needed a felony, with few exceptions. Any doctor who violated the new Georgia law could be prosecuted and face up to a decade in prison. Thurman waited in pain in a hospital bed, worried about what would happen to her 6-year-old son as doctors monitored her infection spreading, her blood pressure sinking, and her organs beginning to fail. It took 20 hours for doctors to finally operate. By then, it was too late. Yesterday should have been Amber's 31st birthday. She's a mom, 31 years old. ProPublica reports that the state medical committee that investigated this case, her case, and others in other states, operate on a 2-year lag on the cases they examine, meaning the cases of women who have died since the Dobbs decision are just now starting to come to light, which means that, according to ProPublica, quote, there are almost certainly others. This inexcusable stain on our country, this tragedy, it's part of something once kept deeply hidden from any political discourse. We never knew these stories. And that is the harrowing accounts of women who are or could be our sisters or our daughters, our mothers, or our friends, being denied vital, life-saving health care after Donald Trump's hand-picked Supreme Court justices stripped away the constitutional right to an abortion. And these real-life stories are so raw, so undeniably cruel, so senseless, that Trump's MAGA loyalists are working overtime to change reality, to deflect and distract from the horror that Donald Trump almost single-handedly created. One former Trump staffer, Project 2025 advisor, a guy named John McEntee, has publicly tried to claim that these tragedies aren't happening at all. As we showed you last week, this guy, John McEntee, took to TikTok to claim that stories about women's suffering are made up.
Can someone track down the women Kamala Harris says are bleeding out in parking lots because Roe v. Wade was overturned? Don't hold your breath.
Eating chicken nuggets while being that inhumane is an interesting touch. It seems to have worked. Since we showed you that video on TikTok Friday, it's made its way around the internet, and the comments have been flooded with women sharing stories of being denied vital abortion care. The Independent is reporting that the McEntee video now has more than 17,000 comments, almost all from women sharing their stories of being denied care. Quote, posting stories of being turned away from emergency rooms in agony, bleeding out in parking lots, at home, in public bathrooms, and sometimes for months afterward. Others talk about miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies, losing the ability to have children, and driving across multiple states to get treatment where it is still legal, often while hemorrhaging. Most of the stories appear to involve wanted or planned pregnancies. The deadly reality for women in 2024 in Donald Trump's post-Roe America is where we start the hour with some of our favorite reporters and friends. ProPublica senior editor Ziva Brandstetter is here. She edited that incredible piece of reporting we read from. Also joining us, President of Reproductive Freedom for All, Mini Timuraj, is here, and former Obama White House Policy Director, MSNBC medical contributor, Dr. Kavita Patel is here. You know, Ziva, I wish that guy, what is his name? Johnny McEntee with the fast food fetish. I wish he was right. I actually wish this wasn't real. But tragically it is. Take us through the ProPublica report.
First, thank you for having us on to talk about this important reporting by Kavita Sarana and other journalists at ProPublica. We found that, this is a very real case of a 28-year-old woman who died in a suburban Atlanta hospital from a preventative cause. And, the state committee that is assigned to review these cases found it preventable. There's a simple procedure that could have saved her life, could have stopped the infection growing within her body. And it wasn't performed for 20 hours. We don't know what was in the committee's mind or what was in the doctor's minds, but we do know what the outcome was, Nicole, and that was this 28-year-old woman is dead. She's one of at least 2 women who've died in Georgia in situations that appear related to the ban and that the state committee has found preventable.
Minnie, I don't want to gloss over this one case yet and talk more broadly about our politics, because I think that what Republicans want people to believe is not just that these women don't exist, but that they're a certain kind of woman. Not that they're a mom who may have desperately wanted the baby she was pregnant with. I think it's why Amanda Zarowski is so inconvenient to Republicans. But there's a little boy who lost his mom at 6 because of Donald Trump's criteria for selecting Supreme Court justices, for only wanting people who would overturn Roe. Whatever happens in our politics, nothing undoes that single tragedy for this family and this little boy.
Yeah, look, we knew this was happening. I have a tremendous amount of gratitude to this tough, smart, persistent reporters at ProPublica who finally proved it, right? I mean, we've been collectively gaslit by Republicans for the past 2 years since Dobbs. We've been shouting, women will die, women are likely dying. Now we have the proof. Amber Thurman would be alive today if it wasn't for Donald Trump and Brian Kemp's abortion ban. Brian Kemp signed that bill. Brian Kemp, a governor who has the opportunity with his legislature to move the Reproductive Freedom Act in Georgia to repeal and fix this mess, has shown no indication he's willing to do it. It's important to understand for everybody that there's complicity up and down the policymaking structure, from the Supreme Court to the Fifth Circuit to the Georgia legislature to the Georgia governor's mansion to the White House. They've all conspired and collaborated for women like Amber to die. I cannot say it enough. We did not have to be in this place. We do not have to live like this. We owe it to Amber and the countless number of women whose stories we do not yet know to do something about this.
Dr. Patel, I want to read you more from ProPublica's reporting on how Amber died. Quote, by the time doctors began to operate on Amber, the situation was so dire that doctors started with open abdominal surgery. The OB performed the DNC, but immediately continued with the hysterectomy. During surgery, Thurman's heart stopped. Her mother was praying in the waiting room when one of the doctors approached. Come walk with me, she said. Her mother recalled her daughter's last words before she was wheeled into surgery. They had made no sense coming from a vibrant young woman who seemed to have her whole life ahead of her. Quote, promise me you'll take care of my son. This isn't an account from the 60s. This isn't fiction. This isn't an ad. This is the United States of America, post-Dobbs.
Yeah, Nicole, and it gets even worse. Just, again, kudos to ProPublica for bringing this story forward. As Minnie said, we knew these stories were happening. We know this is the tip of the iceberg. And what's troubling, Nicole, is just reading 20 hours. And she was put, just to be clear, this wasn't 20 hours. She came in with no pain, nothing acute. She had an elevated white blood cell count. She had all the signs. In fact, at one point in the documentation, one of the consultants said that she's in septic shock. So this is very clearly doctors who knew what was happening, not just doctors, entire teams. But you can see how much people ask me, Nicole, often, well, won't doctors just do the right thing? At the end of the day, won't they do the right thing? This just shows you how much of an overhang and a shadow. And I just want to give a little perspective. I don't know any of the doctors involved. I know this hospital, but I don't know the doctors. I know probably what the doctors were thinking, and Minnie knows this too. They're thinking, well, if I get arrested and get removed, and I'm the only covering OB for this area, how many other women am I not going to treat? So this is the position that medical professionals have been put in. By the way, just to say something, Amber herself was a medical professional. She was a medical assistant who was going on to learn nursing. So think about all the layers and things she knew that were wrong in order to get her, unfortunately, into not having an orphan child. That's what's even more mind-boggling, Nicole. This is someone who knew the medical system, knew it well enough to go out of state, knew it well enough to know what to say. Even she couldn't get the care she deserved.